All right, folks, up next on the Second Chance podcast is going to be Edwin Carrion. Edwin's coming to us from Columbia, not the city in South Carolina, but Columbia, the country. He's in Medellin, Colombia. Is an immigrant from Ecuador. Joined, moved to the United States, joined the U.S. Marines, did 4.5 years service, and moved into real estate investing. Amazing story. Exactly. Like it's powerful for every when you talk about the power of opportunity and the power of just setting your goal and going after it. This conversation is definitely that one. Um, be sure to give him a follow. He's a wealth of information and is an absolute great conversation. I'm excited for you to hear it. So let me know what you think. Thank you for liking, sharing, commenting. Appreciate it. And let me know what you think about this one. Today on the Second Chance podcast, we're joined by Edwin Carrion, God-made millionaire, U.S. Marine Corps veteran, and a renowned entrepreneur with over 20 years experience building multi-million dollar businesses. From real estate development to business consulting, Edwin's journey is a testament to resilience, faith, and the power of second chances. Through his mentorship and book, The 9 Secrets to Build a $1 Million Business in Life, Edwin inspires entrepreneurs to achieve success without sacrificing family, values, or fulfillment. Get ready for an inspiring conversation about overcoming challenges, embracing balance, and living life to the fullest. Welcome, man. Excited to meet you.
Jared, thank you for having me. And to everybody listening, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever part of the world or time you're listening. Let's get ready for an amazing show.
Man, from the Marine Corps to becoming a successful entrepreneur is just incredible in itself. Can you take us back to that pivotal moment when you found yourself at a crossroads after leaving the military?
Yes, that moment was just leaving the military, not knowing what to do. Just like most 22 years old kids, have no idea what are we going to do in life, what's our next step, what should we do, right? And to me, I kind of had a plan because I'm very strategic about the way that I do things. So I was like thinking ahead. So my thing was, I need to get out. I need to go to college, get a college degree, so I could go back into the Marine, into the military, into the government, the federal government, to either become a CIA agent or FBI agent or something like that. So that was my goal. That was my vision prior to getting out. But my mother goes is like, oh, you should become a developer. And at that time, I had no idea what a developer was. I thought it was like technology because I used to like technology. I was building computers and networks back then. And sure enough, it was real estate development. And that's how I got started into real estate. And that was like my deep dive into real entrepreneurship and business ownership.
There's a lot of uncertainty there, right? I mean, you took a lot of uncertainty not to know anything. You're like, I want to go. I mean, you're already coming out of government, which is very regimented, and you can get a degree and easily roll back into some type of service, right? We know that. That's for you, and that wouldn't be hard to do because of your existing military service. You know the system, so you lean into a lot of uncertainty to create this real estate side.
Yes, definitely. A lot of uncertainty, a lot of unknowns. Funny story is just prior to me getting out, once I already learned and I knew I was going to do real estate development, I'm trying to figure out, okay, how do I build a house? And I'm figuring out how to build a house. And I learned how to build a house, but I learned the wrong thing because I never thought about that in Florida, they build totally different than they build in Virginia. Like,
Yeah.
everything is, or in New Jersey, everything is made on wood sticks. And in Florida, everything is in concrete and concrete blocks. And so my learning prior to getting out was, okay, I know how to build a house. All I need to do framing all around. And it wasn't like that. It was completely the opposite.
And you have another driving a little nudge from maybe your mom to move out of the Marines.
Yes, definitely. That was another big one.
What you know, what kind of skill set do we have in the Marines? what are you, give everybody, and I'm fortunate because I actually just got to know you briefly before we started, but you were born in the United States. You served in the United States military. So let's speak to that. Let's speak to those. Let's speak to that person. Let's give them that background before we jump too far ahead. Because I want them to, when you talk about someone who's been where you, and then we go Marines, and then we get to have this $1 million lifestyle at the end. But talk about those early days for us.
Born in Ecuador, in Quito, in the capital, and was raised by a single mother on a very humble home. But I was very fortunate enough to be able to come to the United States at 12 years old. And while living in the United States, I always wanted to be in the military. That's like one of my dreams. But also, I went in because I got in trouble because I was hanging around with the wrong crowd when I was 18 years old and I got arrested. And sure enough, I'm like, I need to change my life. And I changed my life. And then I decided not to go into the military. But, things happen. And my recruiter lied to me. And this is like one story that I barely share with people. So my recruiter lied to me and he made me go into the military. While when I was in boot camp, they gave me the option, hey, you could go back because they lied to you and they like convince you to come in without having to come in. But then at that time I made a choice. I'm like, you know what? I'm already here. I already left everything behind. I'm going to make the best out of it. And that's exactly what I did in the military. I made the best out of it and had the best, the best experience in the military that only maybe I could tell you the top 10% of the Marines get to have, which is I traveled the world. I was very little time in the United States during my 4.5 years in the military. I went to Japan. I went to Korea. I was able to go on a battleship and do a tour of duty there. I was able to do what only top 10% of Marine Corps do, which is guard the American embassies around the world. So when you watch those cool movies and you have the Americans going into the American embassy and the Marines are guarding that, I was doing that. I got to meet a lot of foreign dignitaries, President Bill Clinton, Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, the FBI commander. So I had an awesome time in the military because I was doing the best. And I decided to do that when I went in. I'm like, I'm going to make the best out of it. And that's exactly what happened.
I hear that. I can hear that repurpose your mess. Like you live that no bad opportunities, right?
Yes.
You could have easily whined and turned the recruiter lying to you into whatever story but you, like, I think I heard Ed Milet say that one time. He's like, you got to learn how to repurpose your mess. Once you figure out how to repurpose it, you're good. So I try to live that myself. It's like, this is all right. It didn't work out the way I thought it would, but it's going to work out better because the way it happened, right? So
yes.
Cool, man.
And with that, it comes what I was taught in the Marine Corps. You adapt and you overcome. That's what a Marine is all about. Adapting and overcoming to your challenges.
How long did you get to serve before your mom urged you out of there?
I did 4.5 years in active duty, and then I did another 4 years inactive.
Yeah. That's I think I wanted to I think the picture that I was trying to paint, Edwin, is like, this is not you're born into this lifestyle you have now that you've created for yourself, right? This is the cool part about it is just you hit it when you talked about product of a single mom with very humble upbringings.
Yes.
Too cool. But that takes us, as we move into a little bit of that, it's just entrepreneurs struggle with balancing personal fulfillment and professional success. Let's talk about kind of where you are now and how you journeyed into your situation that you created for yourself, which is, one could view that is a product of success. But what I'm looking for here is just kind of what practical advice you would give someone who feels like they're sacrificing family and their values for business goals.
Oh, I would say stop right now. Definitely stop right now. It really hurts my heart to hear a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of gurus, and a lot of business owners that are on social media out there influencing other people, telling people that the only way to success is to sacrifice everything else and not have a balanced life, not living a fulfilled life. And I'm here to tell you that that is not the truth because I lived through that. And when I left the Marine Corps and I started building real estate development, I did that. I had no life whatsoever. I was working 60, 70 hours a week. Lost my, you know, lost my faith with God because I was chasing the money, lost good relationships, I lost good friendships. I wasn't close to my family because I was chasing the money. I was chasing the money. I lost my health. So there's a lot of things that I sacrificed to try to get to that point. And yes, did I get to that point? I got to that point. I was able to have over $20 million worth of assets in just 4 years, after leaving the Marine Corps, coming from nothing. But then the market came around and I lost everything and I went bankrupt. And that's the moment that I realized, like, wow, I sacrificed all of this. I worked so hard for all of this. Now I have nothing to show for. Now, was it really worth it? And I realized that I lost one of the biggest commodities that we can never get back, which is time. And the moment that I realized that, that's the moment that I say, you know what, I'm going to start living life to the fullest. I'm going to start enjoying life. And the moment that I decided to do that, to change the way that I view things, I had another business opportunity. And within the new business opportunity, I was able to scale that company to over $20 million again. But the huge difference between this company and the one before was that I was only working 5 hours per week. I was enjoying life. I was really doing the things that I wanted to do. I was accomplishing all my childhood dreams, like having the house that I wanted, having the cars that I wanted, just spending time for me, focusing on myself. And sure enough, life continued. And nowadays, at 46 years old, I'm retired for almost the third time in my life that I retire. I'm living in a different country with my family and spending as much quality time with my kids and my wife and helping entrepreneurs scale their companies, grow their companies, and teaching them that having the balance in life, you can have everything you want because you have to make that part of your life, the business, the relationships, the family, God, and putting everything together and enjoy life and live life to the fullest.
I watched I think that it all circles. I was fortunate to always be the single guy back in the day when I was coming up. And like I journeyed, I didn't do military, but I journeyed through public safety. And the guys that always put in a lot of long hours that didn't want to go home, I think sometimes it's because they didn't know how to do home. They didn't know how to be a dad. They didn't know how to communicate. They didn't know how to uh, be a good husband or a good spouse, right? Whatever that looks like. If they were spending a lot of time at work and involving themselves, I think that was part of it. They did not deal with little kids. They did not play or whatever just because of their upbringing. I think I've seen that as well. I don't know about yourself, but
Well, that is one part of that. But the other part is that, not knowing, because I don't know, like I said, I was raised by a single mom. So I don't know what to be a good father is because I never had a father around me. I don't know what being a good husband is because, again, I was raised by a single mom. So I don't know. I don't have like a male figure to really see, how she act. But, hiding yourself at work, that doesn't mean anything because when we don't know something, the best thing to do is to try to be the best version of that. Meaning, if I didn't have a good father, that I know that my father was the worst person in the world, then let me be the opposite of that. Let me not follow with that trend because a lot of people try to follow the trend. Hey, my dad was an alcoholic. Let me be an alcoholic because it runs in my family. It's like, no, let's cut those ties. Let's figure out how can I be the best version of that so my kids and my future generations are better than that. I didn't have my father play with me. Okay, now let me enjoy my kids' childhood and play with them. Let me do something with them that I never had with my father. And it's not hiding in work. And what they don't understand is some of them are trying to be good parents, and that's why they're working twice as much because they're trying to make more money to give their kids more things. But what they don't realize is that if you ask your kid, what is it that you really want? They want time with you. They don't want more money. They don't want more cars. They don't want a bigger house. They don't want a bigger car. They just want time with you. And you have to understand that that's what your kids want. That's what your wife wants. Spend more time with you. Not to have more material things, but it's the time that they want. But we tend to forget that. And we're like, oh, you know what? Let me give my kids, let me give my wife what I never had. And let me spend more time on that. But you could do that. You start realizing, you know what? Let me set those boundaries and let me spend as much time with my kids, as much time with my family, but also let me focus on how I can continue growing. And if you figure that out, instead of trading time for money, then things start changing.
You hit it, man. I'm with you, man. Same thing. How are your kids now?
10 and 12.
Yes, I'm 12 and 15, so I'm not,
Okay.
and I'm not,
We're
the, and
almost
I'm
there.
yeah, and I'm just a minute ahead of you age wise, right?
Yes.
I hit 50 this year, so listen, folks. Um, what Edwin said there, you're you're gonna. That's something I want. If you got time, pause it, go back and hit your rewind for a minute 30 and listen to what he said again. Time, something we can't make any more of. And when you're trying to when you look at the stuff that Edwin and even the stuff that I work on is we try to help you create a pocket of time so you spend it to where it's the most valuable. And for someone like me, I told my son Edwin, I'm like, dude, you're raising me. And he was a little bit, he's like 3 or 4 years old. We were talking and he's like, your dad or whatever. I'm like, nah, man, you're raising me because we're in this together. And as he got older, we're struggling to communicate a little bit. And I had told him, I'm like, listen, I don't know, if me and you can't talk, we're going to fail. I was like, no matter, whether it's emotional, not emotional, we just have to be able to talk to one another. You got to be able to communicate your feelings to me. I got to be able to communicate mine to you. And
Yeah.
man, it's like it set us off on a path where, because I'm like you, I didn't know that. I don't, no husband in the house, so um, I look for the Edwins of the world that have kind of where I'm at that had all those things to make sure that I'm in line, right?
Right.
Because we don't know what we don't know.
That is true. We don't know what we don't know, right?
Yeah.
But we live in a very good times that the information is available, people are available. So just kind of searching for that right person that could teach you what you want to know, what you don't know.
Yeah. And this is one of those times when I think if it's good to find someone that resonates with you, someone that can speak, that kind of speaks your vibe or where you are and not trying to figure that out on your own. We end up screwing it up worse because you don't know. It's finding someone that can kind of mentor you on just what good parenting or not, or just parenting in normal. Because um, I got to where we never there was no hitting in my house. We don't. I never. We don't. Just not something we had that came in. Maybe one time, right? And where we had I popped my son on his butt, and then we both kind of looked at each other, and I'm like, you know what, that ain't happening again, because I knew there was a better way. And I started really trying to find folks that could help me navigate that. And you have all this, and this was another thing. And I work with folks on this one, Edwin. There's a lot of folks like yourself that in the military love the structure, love all the things, love the skill set that to provide. They just don't know how to transfer it, but you credit the values of honor, courage, and commitment from your Marine days as just that background of your success. But can you share a specific example of how the values guided you through tough decision or challenging moments in your journey as an entrepreneur?
Yes, no, and to add to those values, there was the one that maybe you missed or something, is faith. So my
Yeah.
values are faith, honor, courage, commitment. So everything I always said, everything starts with God, and that's why I call myself a God-made millionaire because I want to give God the credit for everything that I have. When I was younger, I used to say that I was a self-made millionaire, and now I realize that nobody's self-made. We all
Yeah.
need somebody along the way to become successful. We needed our team. We need the people next to us, our spouse, our kids. That's what gives us success along the way. And if we take the credit away from that, that's when we really, we feel lonely and empty inside. And when I realized that, I started giving God all the credit for everything that I have in my life, not only material or financial, but also in all aspects of my life. Right. So that's number one. And then the other values that we carry on to business is number one, it's like having that faith that whatever we start is going to become successful because if we believe in God, if we believe in a higher power, then, we have to also believe in ourselves. And that has been one of the driving forces for everything that I do in business and in life that has gotten me to become successful. The second thing is with the honor. Whatever I do, whatever I start, we have to do it with honor. We have to keep our word. And, you know, I learned the word really honor when I was in the military, honed in the honor part. But when I was younger, my mom taught me to be a man of my word. And that's part of having honor, being a man of your word, keeping your word. Nowadays, a lot of people don't keep the word, but, and we have to do things black and white. But back in the old days, if you really think about, everything was done on a shake of a hand. Honor meant a lot. And, we have to go back to those times where our word means everything. Commitment is whenever we start something, let's be committed to it. Let's not quit along the way. It's easy to quit. That's why you see nowadays so many people getting divorced because they commit, but they don't want to really commit. The moment something gets tough, they walk away, they quit. And it's the same thing with business. Business are tough. Business is not easy. But if you start something, stay committed. There's no plan B. Just continue going, continue going, continue going. And if you stay consistent, consistency is going to be the key to success. That's how you're going to become successful. I've been in real estate for over 22 years now. And, the success wasn't done overnight. It's taking time. And the markets have fluctuated up and down. But, I'm consistent with that because I know that's where pretty much a lot of the American people make a lot of wealth in business and in real estate. So I have to stay consistent with that. And then finally, having courage. The courage is having the things to be able to jump into something, to be able to take a leap of faith and really say, I'm afraid of doing this, but even though I'm afraid of doing this, let me take the leap of faith because I believe in myself and let me have that courage. And I know that I'm going to make it happen. It's not being afraid of things. I always say you have two outcomes in things, right? You either have fear or you have excitement, and you get to choose which one you want to have. And the reason I say that, because if you really think about a roller coaster, right? Let's use the roller coaster as an example. You get in a roller coaster. You are afraid of roller coasters. I like roller coasters. We're both going to have the same experience, right? Because the roller coaster is going to do the same thing for both of us. But once we get off, I'm going to be happy. You're going to be mad. You're going to be, upset because you don't like it. So we have the choice of either choosing fear or excitement in anything that we do.
You're spot on. You're probably the second, third conversation recently that I've had. I had it explained to me one time when you're in a speaking, speaking workshop, and the lady said, Jill Bunny's her name. She was like, how's everybody feel right now? Write it down. And everybody had some type of fear-based word, anxious, And this is what she said. She goes, it's all excitement. Stop telling yourself it's not. And I was like, holy crap. And she said it. I was like, I stretched it out. I'm like, she's right. I'm excited as hell because you worked so hard to get here. And now you get to go and show your talents. You get to perform. You get to do. Like, why are you? Well, no, there's no. And so I teach that to my young athletes now when I get to coach, and my kids especially that's one of my messages. Like, hey, what are you afraid of? They're like, well, I'm afraid of striking out. And I'm like, all right, let's be excited about getting it get. And they're like, all right. So, good stuff, man. That's absolutely powerful. Just through your core value of faith, honor, commitment, and courage. You also mentor, and you've helped others transfer their lives and businesses. Do you have a standout moment or that feeling of when you gave someone their own second chance, maybe, and how that impacted you?
No, one of the things like as we become older, as we become successful in the different areas of our lives, we're trying to find, okay, how can we create the legacy, right? And God put on me that my legacy was to teach others how to become successful like me, because I know that the moment that I teach somebody else to become successful, they're going to do the same thing and teach others how to become successful. So it's not about just giving money away, but it's also how can I teach you to fish so like that you're able to feed everybody else and you're going to do the same thing over and over. And I think that's the legacy part. And to me, my biggest fulfillment has been helping entrepreneurs scale their companies or really teaching them, okay, what are the basics that I need to become successful? But then seeing them become successful with time again. And now that you mentioned that today I got a message with one of the my mentees, one person that I mentored over a year ago. He texts me today. He's like, Edwin, we got to talk next. We have a huge win that I want to share with you. And pretty much those are the fulfilling moments that I'm like, you know what? They're applying what I taught them. They're being consistent and they're winning. And I love that. And that brings me so much fulfillment in my life.
When this episode, we're probably going to lead into what would be the holiday season, and I was trying to think of the timeline. It's going to fall in that end of December, 1st of January type timeline, right? And I want to make sure this is what I really want to help us accomplish here, because I am real big on making sure that the right people come into your life at the right time. And so we're going to be speaking to those folks who have probably overdone it, whatever that might look like for them in holidays. Who do you want to come connect with you? Or what does a person look like? Where are they at in their journey? And when you're like, hey, you need to call, it's a great time to reach out for Edwin. Let's speak to that person that we can best connect with you and the stuff that you do.
Yeah. Well, in the business scaling side, I work with entrepreneurs that are making at least $1 million a year in revenue. And they want to break through that $1 million and want to get to the 5, 10, $20 million. Those are the entrepreneurs that I really work with. But, if you're an entrepreneur that hasn't got to the $1 million, that is been struggling and keeps pushing, I have no idea what's going on, send me a message. I love to help people out. I'm here to be of service. I'm here to be of value. I have plenty of free time in my life. So that's what I love to do. I love to help people out. But one of the things that people have to really understand that, if you really want the real value, if you really want to learn, you have to believe in yourself and you have to invest in yourself. And you said it very good a minute ago that sometimes in our lives we have to have mentors. And I like to work with people that have my beliefs, have my values, that I'm able to just kind of give them a couple of tips here and there and see from a bird's eye view what's going on with their life, with their business, and structure that in a way for them to be able to become successful. But, they have to be willing to invest in themselves. And that's one of the hardest things that I notice a lot nowadays, that people don't believe in themselves enough, that they don't want to invest in themselves. And the moment that you start changing the mentality, the moment that you're changing the mindset, that's when you're going to see the huge growth, because I see it in myself year in and year out, because I invest in myself over, $250,000 in mentors and masterminds and memberships and this and that. And that's the huge difference of when I started, that I had no idea what a mentor was, until now that I know who are the mentors that I want to work with, who do I want around my life, and what people do I want to be surrounded with.
The thing I think, folks, and I'm guilty of this as well, you can't approach something like Edwin's talking about as what it's going to cost you. You approach it as what it's going to make you.
Yes.
And if you'll turn around your apprehension to just go and be vulnerable and sit down with someone, sometimes you pull back the veil and you're afraid of what the world's going to say, because you may have this one personality front facing, and then you have a whole crap show going on behind the veil, right? So, but that's not the case. Like, definitely, coaching is definitely, and finding folks that are where you want to get to, it's huge value. As we wrap up here, tell me about your book, the 9 Secrets to Build $1 Million Business in Life. It outlines your strategies for success, but which one of those secrets do you think most resonates with the idea of a second chance, and why?
Um, I will always go back to the first one, which is faith.
Yeah.
And why is that one? Because like I mentioned a minute ago, if we believe in a higher power, we have that belief, that we believe in Jehovah, Buddha, whatever you want to call it, right? To me, it's God. If you have that belief in God, you understand that it says that we were created as an equal image of God. So we're created as an equal image of God then, and if we believe in him and we know that he's capable of doing anything, then we have to look at ourselves and say, hey, if I was created like God, then I have to look at myself that same way. And I have to believe in myself that I'm able to accomplish anything that I want, because it doesn't matter what do I look like. I know that I am perfect because he looks at me like I'm perfect. So if I'm looking at that way, then you have to believe in yourself. And that's where a lot of entrepreneurs fail, is that they tend to compare themselves a lot, and then they tend to self-doubt on themselves, and they don't have that belief in themselves. So everything starts with that faith, having that belief in you and understanding that that's what's going to separate you from everybody else.
That's great, man. How can folks connect with you? How would you like for? I'll bookmark your stuff, but how would you like for folks to get in touch with you?
Yeah, everybody could connect with me in my social media channels. I'm all over social media at Edwin Carrion 78. Edwin Carrion 78. It's at the bottom of the screen underneath my name. Send me a DM if you want a free gift. If you want my free book, 9 Secrets to Successful Life and Business, to Building the $1 Million Life and Business, send me a DM with the word podcast, and you'll get that free book.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'll make sure we bookmark all that. You know, I really appreciate it. I appreciate you taking the opportunity. You're a success story that that often gets overlooked. The guy who wasn't from here, came here, military, and then is made his mark, man. So I really appreciate your drive and the inspiration that you're going to provide to the folks that's coming up behind you. And anything I can do to help you amplify that message, I hope that you will reach out for me. We can connect and continue to grow our relationship as we proceed. Thank you a lot for being here today.
No, thank you for having me. And you already did that. Thank you just by having me in your podcast and having your listeners listen to the message, listen to the things that I have to say. That's part of my mission, part of speaking in front of thousands of people to help them understand that anybody can have the life that they desire. And the best way to do that is, I always say, if you don't know where you're going, you will eventually get there.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Edwin Carrion on Second Chance Podcast.